Hey, it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services. We're in New York City today to talk with our friend Ruth Stevens, who is a noted direct marketing, digital marketing author, instructor, expert, and past president of the Direct Marketing Club in New York. Ruth, good to see you.
Thanks a lot, Ken. Appreciate it.
Ruth, great to see you. You've had a illustrious career teaching and working with different clients, and tell us a little bit how you got started in the field.
I was so lucky. I had a great corporate career, about 15 years at Time Warner and Ziff Davis and IBM. And when I decided to go out on my own, I picked B2B marketing as my area of focus as a consultant and educator, and ended up doing a lot of writing on the subject as well. So I've had a happy 17 years of self-employment.
Very good. That's an accomplishment in itself. Now, I just want to go back. You've gone to some notable schools, Hamilton College, Columbia University for graduate school, and even an opportunity at Harvard. What were some of the things that were key issues when you were going to graduate school as a student, which are so different today?
That's a great question. I was in business school at Columbia in the executive program, so I was in my 30s already. In an era when mergers and acquisitions was all the rage and everyone wanted to go into finance. And that's sort of typical of Columbia anyway, but I decided to have a co-major in both marketing and finance, and I'm glad I did, because having ended up in direct marketing, which is so numbers oriented, I had comfort with numbers and really, took to direct marketing like a duck to water, so to speak.
Well, I think we all did, and I know you've wrote a book that was on target for an early portion of my career when I worked in marketing at Dean Witter and sales lead generation. I did actually my master's thesis on the topic, and you wrote a book on it called Maximizing Lead Generation. What were some of the key points in your book?
I did, thanks. My publisher will be so pleased that I got a chance to show the book. I was trying to give a kind of soup to nuts overview of the lead generation process in this book so that B2B marketers could understand that it's really more of a science than it is an art, compared to a lot of marketing communications where a big idea or a lot of creativity is important. In sales lead generation, it's really more about process. So I walk readers through step by step how to generate an inquiry, how to build a database, and how to qualify that interest and hand over to a sales force for closing. So I think it's been well received.
Absolutely, and I know when I was involved, we were just starting to talk about the ability of accessing a large national database for supporting stockbrokers or insurance agents, and perhaps people in banks too. Tell us a little bit about, you've got a paper out on business-to-business marketing where you kind of go through a blueprint, and I know you start with the funnel concept that is kind of very popular today about how you have to qualify a prospect. What are some of the keys when you're starting to, as we are in financial services marketing, trying to find new prospects and qualify them? Some of the fundamentals haven't really changed that much.
Yeah, it's so interesting that the hot new topic in B2B marketing today is called account-based marketing, abbreviated as ABM. And it's so funny to me, like you say, it's really the way businesses have been selling since time immemorial. And the reason for the renewed interest in it is that there are new technologies to enable account level selling and marketing. And what's happening today is that a focus on accounts is allowing sales and marketing teams to be better aligned, to work together from the earliest prospecting stages, identifying accounts where there's a business opportunity, all the way through to not only converting a sale and finding additional cross-selling and upselling opportunities and penetration in the account, but also deepening the relationship and possibly even product development in reaction to account needs. So But B2B marketing is really getting more interesting every day.
Well, certainly, email is certainly a very important part of email marketing, of business-to-business marketing today. But I get a lot of them, and I think many people do, offering webinars and white papers and so forth. But it seems to me the goal is still to find a way to talk to the prospect or have a meeting with them. What are some of the ways to kind of use new media to try to distinguish your offer and the opportunity to meet a new prospect?
Yeah. Well, for cold prospecting into an account that you've never done business with before, the powerhouse attraction mechanism is content marketing, whereby we as marketers develop educational, informative material that not only educates our prospects on how to solve their business problem, and hopefully we can help them solve it, but also becomes extraordinarily valuable in attracting, through search engine marketing and search engine optimization, those prospects who are already researching to find solutions to their business problems, and we want them to find us. So the content not only helps us build and deepen a relationship with them, but it also helps bring them to our website where we can kick off a relationship. So that's the powerhouse mechanism. Now, Ken, you mentioned that email can be overused in B2B as it is in B2C, and I'm not a big fan of cold prospecting through email. I think it's much more powerful, since we know that B2B buyers are researching solutions online. We need to be online using social media, using content marketing, so that they can find us when they have a need and not pester them with email. That said, though, once we already have a relationship, whether it's just an inquiry or they've maybe downloaded a white paper from our website, that's when email becomes so powerful, because then we can use email to develop and sustain and enrich that one-to-one relationship between us and the member of the buying committee or the buying circle.
And Ruth Stevens, you're mentioning about different types of media to use. Certainly, as we're doing here, using video, and we're going to be out on LinkedIn and websites. What are some of the effective ways to use new media? We see so much more video being done, and also a lot of organizations hosting their own events rather than waiting for an industry trade show, doing their own events. We were just at one last week with sponsored by the Avaya company. What are your thoughts on new media and best ways to reach prospects who perhaps are hosting your own trade show?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Corollary to the comment I made about content marketing being so important, content marketing is making us marketers into publishers, and we're stepping into the gap where trade magazines have left a hole, and in the same way as events have become more and more horizontal, business marketers are finding that having their own proprietary events, either for client appreciation or even for prospecting, can be very effective. So we're being asked as marketers to broaden our skills and become publishers, become event organizers, and using data to power those. It's a really very exciting time. Now, on the subject of social media, that has changed remarkably in the last 5 years, where Facebook's power has gotten stronger and stronger, as we all know. 5-10 years ago, I would have said Facebook is not the correct environment for industrial marketing and most B2B categories, but I've changed my mind. Facebook has become a really powerful vehicle for delivering thought leadership, for engaging with current customers and prospects, and social media as a whole, whether it's Twitter, not just LinkedIn, but Twitter, Facebook, even Snapchat and Instagram are being deployed by B2B marketers today as a way to establish themselves as knowledgeable in their industries and their categories, and someone would want to do business with.
Just again at the Avaya meeting I was a guest at last week, they broadcasted the majority of their featured talk on Facebook Live. And I happened to hear the technician say to the speaker, well, we had several thousand people watching on Facebook Live, with about 250 people in the audience, so the audience has expanded. They also had a podcast booth studio in their exhibit hall, and they were doing little podcasts with some of the speakers and guests. So lots of changes and effective use of digital media. Now, Ruth, I want to ask you, obviously at CBSI, we're involved primarily in the banking industry, both consumer and to an extent in business. Certainly challenges for marketing in effective use of branches, leveraging digital online banking platforms, and then also the credit card platform, which I've been in this for 30 years. We still have never fully been able to find a way to better cross-sell to credit cards. If you were talking to a group of bankers, what would be some of the thoughts you might highlight for them?
Well, I'm actually not expert in that field, but I think understanding the customer need is the place to begin as a marketer. And I actually find that marketers today often shield themselves from real customers. They sort of stay behind their desks, and the primary personal relationship that's built with the customer is handled by sales. So I encourage marketers to do what I call grandmother research, which is reaching out to customers and even prospects for a 20-minute phone call to get more understanding of what their problems are and to brainstorm on how some of those problems can be solved by your company. Well, that's a thought.
Appreciate that. Now, you've got an exciting teaching opportunity this fall. You're going to be going to Hong Kong as an instructor. Tell us a little bit about that, and what are some of the key topics that are of interest to an international business market like that?
It's so interesting. Business education is generally conducted in English worldwide, which is a real advantage for someone like me, an English speaker. So I've had the opportunity to teach in business schools all over the world in the last 10 years or so. I taught for a semester in Singapore, for several weeks in Dubai, and last year I was in Hong Kong at the University of Science and Technology. I'm returning there this fall. And the courses that I'm going to be teaching to MBAs this fall are two. One is called Customer Acquisition and Retention, and it's really about data-driven marketing, and also a class in B2B marketing. These are my two areas of interest. And these MBAs are studying at night and on weekends, and most of them are in their probably early 30s, and they're in business today, so the level of classroom conversation will be really high, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's outstanding, and a great indication of how you're respected and your teaching is respected, not just here, but internationally. You're a prolific writer for various trade publications. Tell us about what have been some of your top of mind things you've written about recently or you're planning to write about going into the fall.
Hey. Well, I've been writing about account-based marketing a bit recently, as I mentioned earlier. Last month I wrote about GDPR, which is a subject that is of urgent interest to marketers. Namely, this is the EU's new regulations that are going into effect in May of 2018 that say that if we as marketers, and most B2B marketers are selling worldwide, so if we as marketers selling into the EU are not compliant with their requirements relating to data privacy and preference, that they can levy a fine as large as 4% of our global top-line revenue. So for a B2B marketer, that's a very scary prospect. And if any company has not looked into what needs to be done to comply with those regulations, they should move quickly. I think the EU regulators are not out to crucify people. They're trying to get us to be knowledgeable and take action. So by demonstrating that we're looking into it and trying to get our processes in place, that should be a great first step.
Absolutely. And Ruth Stevens, just tell us a little bit about how someone can read more of your articles and maybe purchase one of your books.
Thank you. Well, I've written 3 books on B2B marketing. One's called B2B Data-Driven Marketing, one's called Trade Show and Event Marketing, and the third is Maximizing Lead Generation, which we showed a few minutes ago. And they're available on Amazon naturally. My articles are available at ruthstevens.com, and I've also written a number of white papers and research reports which are available there. I am a monthly blogger at Biznology and Target Marketing Magazine, so my monthly pieces can be found there, and I'd be thrilled if people would follow me on Twitter. It's Ruth P. Stevens.
Very good, Ruth Stevens. We'll have to catch up after your trip to Hong Kong and find out all about it, but thank you so much for spending time and hearing a little bit about your writing and some of your key thoughts on business-to-business marketing.
Thrilled, Ken, so much, and thank you.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business in New York City.